Near the beginning of Chapter 8, Raju does not take the state's wishes to collect the young man's debt seriously, which lands Raju in court. The case continues, and Raju trusts his lawyer to settle the issues. However, he is faced with yet another problem, which appears in the form of his uncle. When his uncle arrives, he angers Raju by speaking to Rosie in a harsh tone, and leaving with Raju's mother, who promises to return if Rosie leaves. Soon, Rosie becomes a well-known dancer under the name Nalini, and Raju is her main manager. He spends all of his time coordinating functions for Nalini to perform at, and she practices as often as possible. Raju's childhood home does not fit their elite status, so Rosie and Raju move to a larger and more exquisite house. Although Nalini dances on stage, Raju feels that he is the real star of the show, and that the crowd cheers for him. Raju begins to feel somewhat obsessed with the money aspect of show business, and spends their earnings immediately. Raju is so controlling over Rosie that he attempts to hide a copy of Marco's book from her. Rosie gets angry when she discovers that he has been keeping the book from her, and they argue. Although he knows it is wrong, Raju also conceals an item sent from Marco and addressed to Rosie, requesting Rosie's signature to send a box belonging to her. After a while, Raju gets anxious to see what the box contains, so he imitates Rosie's signature and waits for the package to arrive. Raju is then taken into custody and put on trial for forgery, all the while believing he was deliberately set up by Marco. Despite not wanting to continue dancing in public, Rosie goes back to performing as Nalini in order to make money and pay for a good lawyer for Raju. After a long trial, Raju is sentenced to 2 years in jail and is a model prisoner while serving his time. In fact, he admits that he would be happy to stay in jail longer than 2 years. While in prison, Raju reads in the paper that Rosie still dances as Nalini, and he wonders how she functions without him. Plus, his former secretary, Manny, informs him that Rosie is well, and she left with Marco's book. The novel then shifts to the present, as Raju concludes the narration of his life story to Valan. He is surprised to see that Valan still respects him, even after hearing that he has not always been such a saint. Raju sneaks food while his followers continue to believe that he is fasting to end the drought. But when he runs out of stashed food, he realizes that he should dedicate himself to the cause. This is the first time that Raju has seriously committed himself and truly made an effort. Reporters and other outsiders begin to come to the temple to get a look at the Swami in action. The area becomes a sort of tourist attraction, with shops set up all around. As time goes on, Raju grows weaker and weaker due to his lack of food. Since the event is highly publicized, the government's main concern is keeping Raju alive, and they desperately attempt to convince him to end the fast. Finally, at the end of the novel, Raju musters enough energy to drag his frail body down to the river. He weakly smiles and tells Valan that he feels the rising of water coming from rain in the mountains.